Welcome to the Sisterhood Podcast. Pull up a seat and turn it up, because this season, we're not holding back. This is real life, real faith, and the kind of conversations you didn't know you needed. We're talking about following God when it's messy, trusting Him when it's unclear, and showing up even when it's not easy. No filters, no fluff, just truth, growth, and a whole lot of Jesus. So grab your coffee, slide into the booth, and stay a while. You're not just listening, you're part of this. This is the Sisterhood Podcast. Season 4 starts right now.
Welcome back to the Sisterhood Podcast. We're glad to be here with you again. Megan's back this week.
Yay!
We've
I'm
been
here.
going at it just nonstop. And I think this episode is coming at a good time as a great reminder for us
Yeah.
that we gotta keep going.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. There's no stop in sight for sure. Yeah.
Megan is going to share from a carousel that she saw on social media, and then we're gonna go from there. So go ahead, Megan.
Yay. Yeah. So if you don't follow Jenny Allen, definitely one to follow. And she's got a bunch of different books out. I think Ashley's going to mention one of the books later in the episode. But she had a post. Where are we at? We're at the end of May. It was like the middle of April, and I sent it to Ashley because I was like, this is just so good. And so I'm just going to read through it. It's just like little blips, but it was just about the myth of balance. And I know it's something that we talk about all the time about saying the no and making sure that you're drawing lines and setting boundaries and doing all of the healthy things. We talk about that all the time in our lives, in our work, in our homes, in our church. When we're asking people to serve, it's just so much part of our verbiage. And we've gotten very comfortable with the no. And so this one is titled The Myth of Balance. And this is how I feel in this season of my life, fully. And it made me feel so good when I read it because sometimes I feel a little crazy or a lot crazy.
You're not crazy.
Yeah, that's good. That's so good to hear. Tell Seth. But sometimes I feel a little crazy. And so she titled this one The Myth of Balance. And it says, I don't believe in balance. You won't find it in scripture. And so that kind of stopped me in my tracks as I was reading this. I was like, all of the things that we communicate so regularly with our body posture and our mental framework and our email automated responses say otherwise. Yeah, it's like so important for it to have balance. Balance sounds like this: equal time, equal energy, everything is steady. It just sounds so nice, doesn't it? It sounds so pretty.
Where
Um,
is that?
yeah. And then it says, it is almost impossible to achieve, and even when you do, it doesn't last. So if not balance, then what? Surrender and obedience. And so when I was reading this, I was like, oh, that is so uncomfortable
Yeah.
and feels so big and so heavy and so much more than what I want to say yes to, honestly. And then she says, seek first the kingdom of God, and everything else will fall into place. It looks messy. It feels risky. It doesn't look balanced, but that doesn't mean it's wrong, because the goal isn't a perfect schedule. It's a surrendered life. Some seasons will stretch you, some will slow you down, and both can be obedience. And I think we said this in the first episode, that sometimes your season of no's is not just a season of setting healthy boundaries and not biting off more than you can chew and not overwhelming your plate. Sometimes it is setting you up for a season of yes.
Yeah.
And then she said, balance might never come, but peace can. It's not achievable. Realizing in the midst of family and work and friendship, this set me free.
Yeah.
And when I read this, that's how I felt.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm not messing it up. I think so much of this feels like if we're not doing it, if we're not, then we would have a certain feeling if we were doing it right.
Yeah. Well, and I think we all too just feel like we're failing a lot of times because we're not able to give equal time everywhere.
It's the worst feeling.
And so I think a lot of us are waiting to, especially in our walks with Christ and following God, until we have life figured out and it's manageable and it's balanced. But what if it was never supposed to be that way?
Yeah.
So we're going to try to be experts in telling you how to, maybe not experts, but tell you what it looks like to walk this out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think that's also where some of that content for the Mother's Day video and the script behind it came from, is that
Yeah.
feeling that you were talking about, like that feeling of failure, because we see this visualization of balance and
Mhm.
schedules and routines, and we watch like all these Instagram moms that just are able to still cook this intense meal for their family of 7, and I'm struggling with my 2 to not want to bring them home pizza every night. It's just all the things.
Well, jumping into kind of like our first point, we try to make obedience manageable. So we want clarity, margin, control, but that's not what God's asking for. He's
Mhm.
asking for surrender, and you mentioned that and towards the end of that carousel. It's not putting him into our timeline. It's surrendering our timeline to him and saying, "Okay, take me and use me how you will
Yeah.
in whatever capacity." And we try to make a God-sized calling fit into a life we can control because that's where we feel safe. That's where we our hands are on it. So we know that, well, if it goes wrong, then it was on me. And
Yeah.
that's not how he wants us to to go through
Yeah.
this.
And I think we always do that. We always think that we're gonna make this ideal scenario for it to be fulfilled in.
Mhm.
And I know that in First Samuel 15, when it talks about obedience being better than sacrifice, we perceive this version of sacrifice that will enable this balance and calling and in serving and in living. And it's such a flesh sacrifice. It's such a let me reserve this amount of space
Mhm.
for because we can't really comprehend it in our flesh. We just can't. So we try to make it fit. We try to make it possible by our means and so then we're sacrificing according to that, but it's such a flesh sacrifice. And God, he in his infinite wisdom is like, I just want you to be obedient
Yeah.
and my will, my way over your managing of my calling in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that kinda leads into the second point is that real life isn't the obstacle.
It feels
Busy
like it though.
life, responsibilities, chaos, that's not the thing we have to overcome. That's not what's disqualifying us. And a lot of times we look at it as, well, when God calls us to something, he's calling us out of my life, out of our life.
Mhm.
But he equips and he prepares us in what we're already in.
Yeah.
And I think about, like, right now with Caleb and I fixing to start CAMS for church denomination. I'm like, this May has been, I mean, we're in the 2nd week of May, like, closing out the 2nd week of May, or,
Yeah.
well, it might be the 3rd, I don't know, 3rd week of May, and it has just been absolutely insane. And then we like, I think I was talking to you. I was reading somebody my, like, calendar for the next, like, 4 weeks, like, weekends, and I was just like, it's literally something
Something
every
every weekend. I know. I
and
know.
it doesn't slow down until, like, after June, the 2nd week in June. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I love it, but also I'm like, "God, you're gonna have to be with me in this because there's no way I can do this without you."
Yeah.
I mean, we roll into VBS next week, I have a niece's birthday, all these things,
Hmm.
and kick off VBS, and then I go to Montana. The VBS finishes on Wednesday, and then we're in Montana, and it's just like, and then I'm getting all the stuff together for CAMS, and, like, we'll have interviews for that this summer, and then we'll start, like, our session, I think, in August. And so I'm like, "You called me in real life. It's not, you're not
Yeah.
taking me outside of everything that I've
No.
got on. You're right here in it.
Well,
So,
and that's how all these transitions happen. I feel like we just wrapped up today was Kingston's last school day, and Copeland's last week was last week. So we're in summer mode. But in
yeah.
my job world, we're bridging over to full-time jobs, we're transitioning, and none of it feels balanced. None of it
Mm,
feels like a healthy transition. None of it feels like that. It feels like
yeah.
absolute chaos. And then I think about when Jesus called his disciples, when he called Andrew, James, John, and Peter, and they literally just like he said, "Let's go," and they just dropped their nets. Yeah, they didn't hesitate, and I feel like that such a radical shift. That was not just their career, but it was their father's career, their father's father's career. This is all they knew, and in
Yeah.
that very primitive atmosphere of, there was not a Walmart that they could go work at if this didn't work out. There wasn't a Target down the road. This was livelihood for them in that moment. That radical shift was not a slow, easy, balanced transition, and
Yeah.
so it's so unbiblical, but we convince ourselves that this is what it should look like or this is what it should sound like, and even Jesus' example, like, we're talking about how God didn't call us to live it didn't call you out of your life, he called you in the midst of your life, and Jesus is the prime example of that. Like, he lived a life that many would call very unbalanced. He withdrew routinely in solitary places to pray. He broke societal norms. He prioritized certain people over others. He was always, but his focus was always obedience.
Yeah. And I love that about Jesus, that he took time to get
Yeah,
away.
yeah, yeah,
I'm like, he got that. Like, he knew that if he did not have that time away to refocus and recenter and align himself with the Father's will and not his own, would he have gone to the cross? Had he not taken those times? Had he been so focused on the healings and the miracles and the signs and wonders, would his heart been in a position had he not took time away to go to the crossroads? I think, yes, ultimately, the Father's will would have been
right.
accomplished, but, like, if he realized that in life and ministry, in all the things that we have going on that we need to pull back and find just a quiet moment, then how much more do we need to do that?
Yeah,
And then we'll sit
yeah,
there and get the excuse, "Well, I'm so busy this weekend, I don't have time to, like, just stop and do nothing."
yes, yeah. And I think we do that on both sides. We do it on the space where we probably need to, like, just in order to preserve our sanity, take that time. But then we also use that same framework of refusing to do something. Like, I'll do it when it slows down. I'll do it when I have time. I'll do it. And again, like, it's God didn't call us, God's not calling us out of our life and routine to do it. He's calling us right now in the middle of it. Like, there is, just apply it now, do it now. Because like last week was an insane week, and Ashley, you just put up with me in so many times. Ashley is amazingly patient and balanced in her reaction to me. In her reaction to me, which is so so good for me. Probably not for her, but I pray for her all the time because I know she has to deal with it. But it in all of that, even in those moments where I was exhausted and just, like, there was so much awareness for me of God's grace and me being able to accomplish these things in the middle of so many other things.
Yeah, like, you
'Cause
were
I was like,
so much.
yeah, it's like outside of me, no, none of these things would be happening, and I think that is the part where we're like, if it feels unachievable, that is the
Yeah,
point.
yeah, it's gonna require God, and I think we forget that at times
Yeah,
because we're like, "Well, if I'm not able to achieve this, then that's not God." But no, it requires God in the middle of those moments because it's stretching you, it's building your faith, and
yeah,
it's allowing God to have the driver's seat,
yeah,
and not that we just get to be the passenger princess because there's parts that are we're involved in,
yes.
but
Although we do love a good passenger princess moment with a pillow and a blanket.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Caleb sent me this reel the other day, and it was like, "How did we go from passenger princess to" and it's like this mom, like, passing snacks to the back and, like, pulling out wipes and passing snacks, opening snacks, recharging tablets, and all this stuff, and I was like, "How did we go from getting to just hold our blanket and our pillow and just enjoy the ride, and now we're" I wouldn't change it, but at the
No.
same time, it's like,
Miss it.
yeah, we've got to allow those moments where they do feel just not chaotic, but where it's requiring more of us because it's stretching us in a
Mhm.
healthy way.
Yeah.
Because it's requiring a dependence on him and not
Yeah.
on ourselves.
Yeah, and if you could do it on your own, right, then it wouldn't be obedience, it would just be a goal, and we're really good about making goals,
Yeah.
and if you look at our goals, like, we just in both jobs, we set all these goals, all these things, and it's all of the personally achievable things, right? It's what I can make happen with what I have in front of me by a certain day. So we're really good as people at setting goals. Like in the flesh, we're like, oh, I can make this happen. I can absolutely say yes to this. And to your point, I think that's also why we say no to so much.
Mhm.
Is in the world, when someone asks something of us, we're like, never done that before, probably not going to happen. Or, well, it's going to require at least 2 hours. I really only have 30 minutes this week. So it's definitely not a God thing. I'm just going to say no. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes those are the opportunities to say yes. And to your point, it requires God. It's gonna stretch you, it's gonna build your faith, it's gonna take you to a different level. Like, God doesn't want us to just be stagnant and just be constant in this season. He wants us to, build and grow and realize more and uncover more of who He is and discover more of what He has for us to do.
Yeah. So, as we've talked about these different points, what in your life right now feels unachievable, but you know that God is in it?
Well, I'm in the season of summer, like I said, with the boys, and so I think in the midst of this job transitioning from one full-time to another successfully feels unachievable.
Yeah.
It feels like there are going to be some very big dropped balls, and so I have this anxiety over what that failure moment looks like. I mean, I know it's wild, like, to be already fearing a failure that has not happened, but I'm just like, "Well, because I can't hold all these balls in the air, and I truly can't." And then on the other side of it, I've got the boys in summer, and I've got a couple summer plans, but not full summer plans, and just the feeling of wanting them to be busy, wanting them to have fun, but still not wanting them to have to get up at 6 every morning because that's what they do all school year. So where's the ground there? What's the goal there? What is achievable? What
Mhm.
can I make happen? This
Yeah.
is what goes through my head all the time. So I think that's my current what in my life feels unachievable, but I know God is in it. I know He is the reason why I have these opportunities at work, um, because I pray about it all the time because I feel so incapable, I feel so ill-equipped, and He just keeps on carrying me through those pieces. And then with the boys, I think that is for me and probably most women, all of our battles of motherhood is always feeling ill-equipped and incapable, and, like, we can't possibly do enough to make it or we're failing them on some level. So, knowing and trusting God with them and what plans He has for their summer is an opportunity for me.
Yeah. Well, and for me, like I said, these next few weeks, it's just like nonstop. And we're in a transition period at our church with some different ministries. And so, not that I've taken on another role, but there's responsibilities that are
Yeah.
added to my plate. And then got VBS and then the mission trip, and I'm going to camp this year with Charlie as a counselor, and I loved camp when I was a kid. We went,
Mhm.
and so I'm
I
excited
did
for that
too.
and family vacation, and so I'm like, if I can just get to the 2nd week of July, and that's when I can breathe, but then we've got cams in the middle of this, so we've gotta have interviews and all of that, and I'm like, is this all gonna get done? And I know the only way that it's gonna get done is because of God. Like, I can't sit here
Yeah.
and try to say that it's all gonna be on Ashley. So, It's a lot, and it feels like it's not achievable, and I don't want this to be what's stretching me. Um,
Yeah.
I would rather the whole cam stuff, that be what stretches me. But just no, it's like this is the only way that we're gonna get through this summer because Charlie's still got technically 2 more days. She has tomorrow and or, well, when this episode, she has 1 more day.
Yeah.
So, just getting through those and still wanting this summer to be I guess because we are so go, go, go all the time, making sure that there's intentional, like, just rest time
Yeah.
as well,
Yeah.
and not
And just
just
presence.
to fill the schedule.
Yeah.
And that's hard for her because she's used to being so go, go, go. So when we are home, she doesn't wanna be here, like, she wants to go to Mama and Papa's or go to Mimi and Papa's or whatever, and it's just like, "No, it's okay to just be home and be here." Like, I know that that may feel boring, but, like, it's needed, and so, I don't know, I'm just like, "Lord, you could get us through."
That's hard for me too, though. It's not, and I think it's not just the go, go, go. It's I want them to have, like you're saying, every experience. And I also remember what summers were like as a kid, and my parents put a lot of priority on family vacations and having those memory making moments. And so, as much of me is like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed with this job and this transition, I'm going to drop a ball. The other side of me is like, and I've got to figure out this epic, memory making machine for their summer. Like it's all of the things, and so I think I mean, I think you can make memories, to your point, and just be at home, but also being able to set myself aside in those moments and be fully present, and I always feel like I'm missing the mark on that, and I think that is also where we convince ourselves that balance plays a part in there because 'cause we're like, "Well, if I was balanced, I'd be able to be present." I don't know, I just don't think I'm wired that way. I think I'm wired in the way where I'm like, there's constant something happening and there has to be I think that God desires from me a constant laying it down at his feet. It doesn't mean I'm not moving in these things and doing and because I'm just wired that way, but it means that I need to have full awareness of his role in all of it and not be looking at my schedule and my achievable pieces and really looking at like, okay, I can only do so much. So God, you're gonna have to fill this gap. You're gonna have to plan their summer, God, because I don't know who is.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, if we can leave you with anything in this today for some takeaways or whatever, the first thing is stop waiting for a calm season because, I mean, May has flown by, so clearly we're not slowing down anytime soon.
Christmas is tomorrow.
Yeah. So, stop waiting for a calm
Yeah.
season. Stop trying to fully understand everything. I shared with our graduates this past Sunday that in his word in Psalms, he says that I let my word be a lamp to your feet and a light to your path. And it was a lamp. So it's just enough to see what's next and not the
Yeah.
full picture.
Yeah. The next couple steps, right?
I referenced a stadium light in what I was sharing. So it wasn't like just like a little lamp that you're carrying just to see the path in front of you with the next couple of steps, not something that's completely illuminated the whole journey. So, just trusting that his plan and everything will work out, but you don't have to know it this exact
Hmm.
moment.
So stop waiting for calm. Stop trying to fully understand everything. I know that sucks for some of us that are OCD and control freaks,
Yeah.
but it is just not going to happen. So you will not have peace if you continue to try to wait for these things or seek that to fully understand everything. It's just you won't have the peace if you keep on doing those things. And then the last item was
Start moving with what God has already shown you.
so good.
I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to doing what, like, God's called you to do and saying yes to what he's called you to do is, again, we think we have to fully understand everything, but it's just taking that next step and saying, "Okay, even in this busy season of life, I can take this step and say yes because I know you're gonna be right there with me. I know you're gonna be so fully present, and I don't have to worry or doubt that it's gonna go any other way.
Yeah, I think yeah, I love that, and I also think that a lot of times, I think we tend I know I tend to overthink that, and I'm gonna spend time like, "Okay, God, well, show me the door, show me the window, Lord, put the fleece outside," like, and he's just like, "Megan, like, I'm literally burning in a bush in front of your face." And I'm
Yeah,
telling you, and we spend too much time overthinking it because we're unwilling to be obedient, and so we're making these questions align with some spiritual nature that we think will be perceived, and he knows us, he knows our hearts, and a lot of the things that he has for us to do are already in front of our faces. It's not news to me that I have to steward my children well.
yeah,
It is not news to me that I have a job opportunity in the midst of a job that I have to fulfill, and I have to walk in integrity in both of those and support both of those. This is not so far-fetched that I'm like, "Oh, I just really need to seek God for this to see." No, I'm in it. He's got me
yeah,
in here. So
yeah,
instead of being this very and I say spiritual, I think we operated in so much spiritual verbiage as children that we tend to lean into it at the wrong points and we make it fit our context. And so a lot of times we'll be like, "Hey God, like I just need you to give me confirmation here." And God's like, "I could not hit you in the face harder." Like it could not be more obvious. Please stop talking and just start doing. Start operating in obedience. Like this is it. We're here. We have arrived.
yeah.
Sorry.
So if it feels too big for you, you're probably right in the middle of obedience because it's not gonna be accomplished just because of you, like, it requires him to. So, maybe the reason it feels unachievable isn't because you're off. Maybe it's because God is inviting you into something that only works with him in it,
So
and
good.
I hope you find him there. In the middle of it. Don't miss the moment to seek him, to listen, because again, we're so quick, especially when we don't understand the plan, we're so quick to just
That was a good role.
spit out the yeah, just like, I don't even know, I can't even think of just
Yeah.
word vomit to him, I
Yeah.
guess is the
Yeah.
best way, instead of just, like he says in Psalms, "Be still and know that I am God." Like, just it doesn't mean you have to stop literally be still, but just, like, quiet the noise and hear from him instead of just coming with all the questions. Because if we get quiet, he will speak. And
And I
so
think that's what we're talking about when you're talking about quieting all the noise. We're talking about that overthinking, that over
yeah,
spiritualizing something. Because a lot of times our version of over spiritualizing is so much flesh, but we call it spiritual because it makes us feel a certain way about how we're thinking or how we're seeing God. And he's just like, I love what you said. If you feel like it's unachievable, it isn't because you're off. Maybe it's because God is inviting you to something that only works with him in it. And all of our lives and everything we do should only work with him in it. Everything should be so centrally focused to him, so centrally, like, grown around him. Everything should be built so he should be that cornerstone of every piece of our lives. So nothing truly so maybe, like, that should be the biggest encouragement is if you feel, like, overwhelmed and like you can't do it, you're winning. Congratulations, you have arrived because you can't. High
yeah,
five.
yeah. Well, and going back to Jenny for a minute, I know you mentioned the book. So she wrote this is her new book, The Lie You Don't Know You Believe: How to Find It, Fight It, and Live Free. And she just talks about she said, I've been there, stuck, frustrated, wondering why things just don't feel okay. No matter how much I tried, I couldn't seem to shake the same patterns. The anxious thoughts, the striving, the insecurities that kept showing up. But over time, I realized the problem wasn't just what I was doing, it was what I was believing. There was a lie underneath it all, a quiet, sneaky lie that shaped how I saw myself, how I related to people I loved, and even how I saw God. And so she walks through the lies that we have to have a balanced life
Mhm.
to be able to fit into God's plan for us, and so if you're needing something to read, especially with summer coming up for those lake days and beach days and mountain getaways, whatever you do, this one is not a bad one to pick up.
Or middle of the night anxiety surges that wake you up. It's a good one.
Yeah. You can get it you can get 'em at Hobby Lobby, Crossway has them, Amazon, so she's also I think it's on Audible as well, so if you like to listen to books, you have
Yes.
options.
Yay.
But we've been trying to get this episode to you, and it's just, again, like, we were trying to make it happen, I think, on our own time and plan, and the Lord always has a way of working things out when He and we wanna be obedient to how things happen, and so this is how this episode's happening, and, we're trusting
With
that
all the unbalanced pieces.
yes, and we're trusting that whoever needs to learn or understand that you don't have to have it all together for God to use you right where you are. I hope you hear that today and know that God's with you and He sees you. And again, like we always say, you're never alone in this season. Never alone because God is there and He wants to be a part of it. If you don't feel like He is there, maybe invite Him back in.
Yeah. We hope it encourages you, whatever your season looks like. And if it's chaos like ours, you definitely are not alone.
For sure. Well, we will catch you next week. Maybe, I don't know. I'm like, I also was thinking about when we started our podcast back, I was like, "We are starting this back in the literal most busiest season of, like, end of school year stuff, Maycember, I've seen that pop up a couple of
Yeah.
times, summertime, so we're just gonna be in it, and whatever happens, happens. It's always God's, whatever He wants to do with it, so
Yeah. It's gonna be
buckle
good.
up, ride, it's gonna be good, and we're here. We're not here for a long time, but we're here for a good time, so however that
I feel like it's a
song goes.
Toby Keith song. Okay. That's a good ending. We love you and thanks for listening and following, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for being part of the Sisterhood podcast today. We don't take it lightly that you chose to spend this time with us, and our prayer is that every episode leaves you feeling encouraged, seen, and reminded that God is still working in your story. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone you love. That's one of the biggest ways you can help us grow this community and continue reaching more women with honest conversations and real faith. You can also follow along with us through the Sisterhood Collective for more encouragement, updates, and community throughout the week. Until next time, keep showing up, keep trusting God, and remember, you were never meant to do this alone. We'll see you next episode.